أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي واجعلني وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي اشدد به أزري واشركه في أمري كي نسبحك كثيرا ونذكرك كثيرا إنك كنت بنا بصيرا اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم وصلي عليه. All right, inshallah, we're going to start with the rays. If everybody's ready, inshallah. This is the third ray that we're reading. So continuation of the second ray where we were studying the divine unity, how we can see that and experience that. And now we're looking at the third ray, which is mostly about supplications. And it was interesting when we were discussing mostly about the supplications, how the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, how he initiated based on his recognition and awareness of his Lord, and how he is sharing with us what his take on in a verbal form, his supplications, that we can all try to benefit by using our human hearts or our feelings and emotions to connect with our source of existence as well. And we saw that there's a chain of many, let's say, a legacy or inspirations that came to many of the students of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, who also kind of, in their own way, expressed their way of supplicating in a verbal form. And like Brother Ali kind of mentioned, I think in the last session, how there are many ways we can communicate with our Lord once we realize that we have a Lord who's taking care of us. And when we see in the universe everything is being taken care of, and we see that all the qualities point to his being as an absolute being, so which is what divine unity meant, seeing the absoluteness of the Lord of the universe. So there was an example also about something, the one who makes the initial rifle. Let me see where that was, and that was alluding to the Joshan al-Kabir, which is one of the famous prayers of the Prophet. And we kind of highlighted how this recognition comes from somebody who is unlettered, peace and blessings be upon him, didn't have any education of any sort, and what kind of impact he had on the community. One unlettered among an illiterate people in an illiterate environment. So it is mind-boggling, or really, one thinks about it, how somebody who had no education recognizes and realizes and then makes a revolutionary change to whoever is benefiting from that message. And the people also at that time were illiterate, and the environment was illiterate, was mostly desert and sand, camels, and then a nation lacking a holy scripture, so something in totally original. So the message that he brings to somebody, I mean, in this day and age, we can also relate to this, how we are tied and get involved in our daily routines and may be neglecting sometimes the existence of things, our own existence, and our awareness of how everything is being brought together by the Absolute One, which points to his unity. So as Brother Kind of Ali shared last time, there are many ways of communicating with our Lord through via our feelings, via our physical being, which is the ritual prayers, and while you're eating, while you're walking, running, whatever you're doing, working, all those are ways of communicating, if you realize. And this is another way, which is the verbal supplications of how we can connect and realize who our Lord, source of existence is. So this was a little recap of what kind of an introduction to the subject. If somebody would like to add anything, please go ahead. We are a small group here, so just jump in right in. And I think we were going to continue from the second paragraph. And as I think this is mostly how we can engage with the supplications by ourselves as well as we read along these passages. And if anything gets struck you or you want to make a comment, please interrupt me and go right ahead. You can always go the formal way of raising your hand or putting in chats. All right, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Oh my God and Sustainer, I see through the eyes of belief. Now, who is this? The student Imam Ali says. So now this, the author, I think, is referring to himself based on his benefiting. So now an impotent student of Imam Ali. So he calls himself a student or somebody who is learning from everyone else, including the ones who've been there before him. So Imam Ali, may God be pleased with him, and the wretched servant of the Qur'an, whatever we can do in terms of our connection with the Lord. And I know Ramadan is coming, so inshallah, may we all benefit from the Qur'an in our lives as well. And it's called the month of the Qur'an, so not the month of food, but the month of the Qur'an. So inshallah, I hope we also benefit from that connection with the Qur'an. And so now he's expounding the supplication of Imam Ali, I think, with the supplication, and wanted to disclose in the light of the greatest name one aspect of the sublime verse by expounding that aspect of the above supplication. So there was one supplication prior to that, which is only one of the 100 sections of the supplications of the Supreme Interpreter, that is Joshan al-Kabir. So there was a section of the Joshan al-Kabir, one of the supplications that was previously we read. Which page was that? Yeah, here, I think. And we saw that most of the response of the prayer or the supplication comes from the way the Quranic message is disclosing the message to human beings. And it is a verbal response that, hey, I acknowledge and appreciate all that I'm experiencing from your mercy and blessings to Almighty Lord. So now he also elaborates with his supplication, oh my God and Sustainer, I see through the eyes of belief the instruction and light of the Qur'an, the teachings of God's noble messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, and the indications of the name of All-Wise. I see through the eyes of belief, the instruction and light of the Qur'an, the teachings of God's noble messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, and the indications of the name of All-Wise, that in the heavens there are no rotations and motions. La ilaha, there are no rotations and motions, but through their order and regularity, they point to your existence. in the heavens, that in the heavens there are no rotations and motions, but through their order and regularity, they point to your existence. I'm not sure why this is highlighted, the heavens, if somebody has any background on this text. So in the universe, the heavens, or even the physical heavens, and there are no rotations and motions, but through their order and regularity, they point to your existence. So the action, the motions, everything points to the absolute one, your existence. There is no heavenly body, but through its silently performing its duty and remaining in place without prop, it testifies to your dominicality and unity. There is no heavenly body, but through its silently performing its duty and remaining in place without prop, without support, I guess, it testifies to your dominicality and unity, physical support. But it's performing its duty and remains in place. One has to wonder how it's hanging, let's say the stars or the planet or the earth. But it testifies to your dominicality and unity. There is no star, but through its balanced creation, regular position, luminous smile, and the stamp of its similarity to the other stars, it indicates the majesty of your Godhead and your unity. So the methodology is La ilaha first, and then he concludes on the illallah part, that the indications that to the majesty of your Godhead and your unity. There is not one of the 12 planets, but through its wise motion, docile subjection, orderly duties, and significant satellites, it testifies to your necessary existence and indicates the sovereignty of your Godhead. Yes, O Creator of the heavens and earth, who directs and administers all particles together with all the orderly components they make up, who directs and administers all particles together with all the orderly components those particles make up, and spins the planets and their regular satellites, subjugating them to his command. Just as each of the inhabitants of the heavens testifies on its own, so in their totality they testify to your necessary existence and unity in a way so clear and powerful that shining proofs to the number of stars in the heavens affirm that testimony. Just as each of the inhabitants of the heavens testifies on its own, so in their totality, they testify, so each individual and then as a whole, they testify to your necessary existence and unity in a way so clear and powerful that shining proofs to the number of stars in the heavens affirm that testimony. Also, appearing as a regular army or imperial fleet, decked out with electric lights, the limpid, beautiful, spotless heavens, with their extraordinarily huge and speedy bodies, point clearly to the splendor of your dominicality and tremendousness of your power, which creates all things. Appearing as a regular army or imperial fleet, decked out with electric lights, the limpid, beautiful, spotless heavens, with their extraordinarily huge and speedy bodies, point clearly to the splendor of your dominicality and tremendousness of your power, that dominicality and power which creates all things, and to your mercy, which embraces all living things and testifies indubitably to the comprehensiveness of your knowledge, which is concerned with all the states and circumstances of all the creatures of the heavens, concerned with all the states and circumstances of all the creatures of the heavens, and embraces them and orders them, and to your wisdom, and embraces them and orders them, and to your wisdom, which encompasses all things. This testimony is so evident, it is as though the stars are the words and luminous embodiments of the sky's testimony. I'll pause here a little bit to hear if you have any comments or want to say anything. How this author is proceeding with his view and explanation and take on how God and his sustainer, how he's looking at the heavens and the stars, and even he goes into the particles and sees how each one in their being and their behavior and their act and their motion, movement, just being there, how obedient they are, just like an army. And when you look at the stars and you see the shine, we always take it for granted. Oh yeah, that's a star, but it's beautiful. Yes, it's beautiful, but how? And look at that. It's the author points out even that shining aspect of it, the lights, and how it decorates the whole skies. I imagine, especially in where there's locations where there's less of the light pollution by the cities, those mountainous areas, deserts, the off-grid locations. I mean, how beautiful that can be seen. One can look at it and just wonder and get lost in them. And all these are signs and which point to the tremendousness, not just power, but the tremendousness, the immensity of power, the dominicality, like who rules, the sovereignty, mercy, everything in their existence, in the way they act, are testifying. They don't exist by themselves. They are not made to shine by themselves. They are not made to hang or perform their duties by themselves. They have no knowledge, no power, no will, no mercy on them by themselves. So there's someone who is employing and taking care of them with his knowledge. And this is amazing, concerned with all the states. Imagine your life, my life, at different stages, different moments, even in a day, even in an hour, different states that we go through. Each one is being taken care of. And throughout the journey of the human being, circumstances, not just one being, all the creatures, everything, including up to the single particle, every aspect of it is being taken care of and isn't covered and enveloped by the mercy and knowledge, dominicality and sovereignty, wisdom. Everything is encompassed. All right, so if you have any comment, please go ahead. I'll continue on with the next paragraph. Also, like disciplined soldiers, orderly ships, wondrous airplanes, or marvelous lamps, the stars in the arena of heavens, and in their seas and vast spaces, show the glittering splendor of the sovereignty of your Godhead. Like disciplined soldiers, orderly ships, wondrous airplanes, or marvelous lamps, the stars in the arena of the heavens and in their seas and vast spaces show the glittering splendor of the sovereignty of your Godhead. As is suggested by the duties of the sun, which is one star among the members of that vast army, which are related to its planets and our earth. Some of its companions, the other stars, look to the worlds of the hereafter and are not without duties. They are the sons of eternal worlds. As is suggested by the duties of the sun, which is one star among the members of that army, which are related to its planets and our earth. Some of its companions, the other stars, look to the worlds of the hereafter and are not without duties. Look to the world of the hereafter and are not without duties. They are the sons of eternal worlds. It's an interesting way of concluding how each and every star, planet that you look at is performing a duty, but can we say it's a meaningless duty? I mean, there is all this balance and regularity, as every scientist and astronomer would tell you, based on the perfect, exact rotations that are happening. And the sun never fails in its duty, always there and shining, performing a duty. And then some other stars, planets are performing their duties as well. So everything has a purpose in their existence. And there's uncertainties on what the purpose may be. That may be a fact. We don't know why this thing exists. Why is it doing or performing in a certain way? But definitely no one can deny, based on the other, everything that we see in the universe, how once we study it, we learn it, we say, oh yeah, that's why this is happening. That makes sense. This is needed for this purpose. So they are the sons of eternal worlds. So whatever they are pointing to, everything has an internal aspect to them. I'm wondering if anybody can elaborate a little bit on this, how they point to the eternal world. That would be a great help. Would anybody like to share their thoughts? Because I've been speaking for half an hour already. No one?
Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah, thank you for you. Go ahead.
So it was interesting how the statement or the acknowledgement started off with, oh God, like my Lord or sustainer. So this quality of sustaining, it's not only within me, but I observe it all around me. And you know how we say the human being is a mini universe themselves. And whatever we observe around us, so like how pretty much the author is expounding on this acknowledgement to the universe we live in, what we need. We are in need of the sun, star, moons. I mean, this is just like a few things we know, but definitely there's so much out there. Like just he shared like the tremendousness of the solar system. And yeah, it's interesting that we, like you were saying, we don't really pay much attention to how everything is really intact, doing its duty, performing its duty, and following a perfect order. It's all set up. So really, I think it makes us question, wow, like who is sustaining all this? Forget about me, but like the whole universe, everything around it, that one must definitely be a majestic one. And I think that's like the gist of the acknowledgement, where you're just in awe, subhanallah, like I belong to this sovereign of the universe, sustainer of the universe. So just some highlights from that piece that you read earlier with your comments. Thank you. And this last first paragraph on page 55. Yeah, it's interesting as well. And I'm glad you brought up, Asim, this the last sentence. I was also wondering, like, wait, what does he mean by this? And I think, and I don't know much about the celestial bodies or the, what do you say, the solar system, you know, just like the basic things. But I don't know, maybe what I've heard is like there are some stars, they exist for like billion of years. They've been in existence for a long time, and maybe I don't know, perhaps there are things like what I know also in observation, like within the universe, like things come in and they depart. So like, you know, bacteria, like everything is just moving in constantly. And so maybe there's perhaps, you know, stars also coming in like that. We don't know like how the order is just set up. It's just a matter of, you know, what you were saying, like discovering the order. They're like, oh, okay, this is how it's happening. Okay. So I don't know the purpose of this little thing. Okay. So then you find out, you're like, oh, okay, this is it. So I think perhaps what I took away, and I mean, maybe what is being shared here, is that everything points to a one not of the nature of this universe, or an eternal source. Or we can see like, wow, this thing came into existence, suddenly disappeared, like that's it, just like for a moment, or just for a day, or just for a week, and we can stretch it out. So but so what is all this point to? What was its purpose? So some of it, like I don't know. I only know what's available to me within my capacity, but obviously we are all looking to know and expand out our understanding. So I think everything looks to the world of the hereafter and not without duty. So something that I may seem like is purposeless, I mean, it's just because I'm not in the know of it, so I may think it's purposeless, but if it's brought into existence, then definitely it must have a purpose. And if I see it disappear in front of my naked eye, then where did it go? It's just like my existence, like my moments, where did they go? Are they just going in a black hole? I don't know, whatever I mean by a black hole. So I think like the last statement, they are the sons of eternal world. So where are they coming from? You know, so if they're brought into existence, definitely they must have been sent from somewhere, and they cannot just randomly vanish. If they're connected in their existence, I can even take myself connecting to like a beginning, then definitely I cannot just be like a haphazard happening, or so I take off my life like not my life, but like existence of anything like a boomerang. You know, it's in your hand, you throw it in a certain way and it comes back to your hand, right? So something has a beginning, it gets launched and it comes back. So everything definitely points to something not of the nature of this universe. So just some thoughts. I'm not sure if that helped, but let's see what others have to say or anything else that gets unpacked, inshallah.
Thank you, Alhamdulillah. That was good for you, for sharing your thoughts and comments. So, like we all do our duties, everything does their all duties as well. So let's look at our duties. What are we doing? And as we have been discussing, in our experiences that we go through, our whatever work we're doing, whatever, and experiences we're engaging with, what there's a purpose for it, right? But then there may be a worldly, immediate purpose, but then there is an everlasting purpose, which is what my connection or with my Lord would be, or something that I appreciate, and maybe the mercifulness or the compassion or the generosity, the beauty, something that I'm experiencing, and I'm interacting with the qualities. My human side is always in that while performing that duty. Let's take eating for an example, the pleasure of eating and taste, all that goes to as a worship to my Lord. And as you said, goes to, there's a beginning and it goes to the end. The awwalu akhiru, we kind of talked about that in this race, I think previously. Zahir and Batin, awwal, akhir, all those names, all those qualities is what the end result would become. So every duty that everything is doing, every planet, star that is doing has those, there is that intermingling of the names, that qualities of the Lord. So all those are something that I long for, that I'm looking for to experience. So that's how every duty becomes a meaningful duty. Hopefully that made some sense. All right. No comment. We'll move on then. O necessarily existent, O single one of unity. These wondrous stars, these strange suns and moons are subjugated, set in order, and employed in your dominions, in your heavens, through your command, power, and strength, and your administration and direction. These wondrous stars, these strange suns and moons. Interesting use of the word strange. Strange suns and moons. It adds that focus point where, we just take it at face value, but one has to wonder at their existence. And these are like very strange phenomena and beings that are working around all of us. Like the air, atmosphere, trees, leaves, branches, all these are really strange things. So these wondrous stars, these strange suns and moons are subjugated, set in order, and employed in your dominions, in your heavens. So they're employed, set in order and employed in your dominions and in your heavens. Through your command, power, and strength, and your administration and direction. All those heavenly bodies glorify and exalt their single creator, who creates, spins, and administers them. All those heavenly bodies glorify and exalt their single creator, who creates, spins, and administers them. Through the tongue of disposition, they declare, "Glory be to God, God is most great." They declare, "Glory be to God, God is most great." Through all their glorifications, I too declare you holy. So this is more of the author's take on, "O necessarily existent, O single one of unity." So as he builds upon his observation and of the universe and the qualities that he's seeing and just being mesmerized and in them, and really in a beautiful way demonstrating how the universe can be read, like they are so meaningful that we really fail in our duty sometimes to really see them as strange things that somebody is really ordering, employing, who does it belong to, whose heaven's command, power, and strength are they following, whose administration do all these things obey, and what do they reply, how do they, in their obediently serving and being employed in their own way of conforming and doing their things, they declare, "God is, glory be to God, God is most great." So when I look at that observation and see how these heavenly bodies and the particles that I interact with and the other beings in the universe, each one has their own tongue of disposition. Just like if you remember the first word on how the author speaks about everything comes in the name of God, the most gracious, the merciful, with its own tongue of disposition. It says hello to you and tells, "Hey, I bring you news. I am here to entertain you but I'm employed by the Lord of the universe." So they declare, "Glory be to God, God is most great." And through all their glorifications, so when I look at them, I also declare that he is an absolute one, O single one of unity, O necessarily existent one. See the mightiness of my Lord. So my friends, just at any time, just jump in right in. This is more of the section of supplications as we are discussing, building upon how we studied the divine unity, seeing how things are all coming from an absolute being. And now we explored one of the supplications of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, from Joshan al-Kabir, one of his, how he responds back and communicates back to all his experience and how his realization with the universe, and now his other folks as well. He mentions Imam Ali, and now the author himself are sharing their take on how they are seeing the universe, engaging with it, and supplicating and responding back to the Lord of the universe. How they're seeing all these qualities, and there's one must respond back to the immensity and tremendousness of his dominicality. And of course, this is more in a verbal form of supplications that there are many ways you can supplicate, including your physical supplications, such as prayers, including your fasting, if you are aware of how fasting, what it means, and of course, while you're engaging in your everyday, day-to-day activities. But here, right now, we're discussing more of the verbal supplications. So just to recap for those who didn't join us early on when the subject was introduced. So sorry for the repetition a little bit. All right, so if no comment, we can move on. O omnipotent one of glory, hidden in the intensity of his manifestation and concealed in the magnificence of his grandeur. O omnipotent one of glory, hidden in the intensity of his manifestation and concealed in the magnificence of his grandeur. O one of absolute power, I have understood through the teaching of the all-wise Qur'an and instruction of your most noble messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, that just as the heavens and stars testify to your existence and unity, so with its clouds, lightning, thunder, winds, and rain, does the atmosphere testify to your necessary existence and unity. Oh, I see. Now the author is looking at the atmosphere. That's why it's highlighted. I think he wants us to focus on that, which now he's saying that how he comes to realize that there is an omnipotent one of glory and how everything, including the atmosphere, is hid, something that is a veil, hidden. So behind that atmosphere is the intensity of his manifestation, the magnificence of his grandeur, or one of absolute power. So I have understood through the teachings of the all-wise Qur'an and instruction of your most noble messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, that just as the heavens and stars, which we studied in the previous reading, the heavens and the stars testify to your existence and unity, so with its clouds, lightning, now it goes into the clouds, lightning, thunder, winds, and rain. Does the atmosphere testify to your necessary existence and unity? Oh my God, there's endless things, subhanAllah. Yes, the lifeless, unconscious clouds, sending the water of life, rain to the assistance of needy living beings, is only through your mercy and wisdom. Yes, the lifeless, unconscious clouds, sending the water of life, which is rain. We call it rain. Well, what is rain actually? Somebody sending the water of life to the assistance of needy living beings is only through your mercy and wisdom. Yep. All those different, the earth, the ground, the soil, if you have gardens, you have farms, you have roads, streets, roofs, whatever you have, the whole earth needs that. There are many organisms, insects in the ground, seeds that need to, they are thirsty for it, animals, everything. So there is all these beings that we may not even think of, who are beneficiaries of what the clouds are are employed to send, the water that is coming, which is only coming from the mercy and wisdom of the one who sends that water. So confused chance could in no way interfere. Confused chance could in no way interfere. The most powerful of electricity, lightning, which alluding to its potentiality for lighting, encourages man to benefit from it and spectacularly lights up your power in space. Electricity, the most powerful of electricity, lightning, which alluding to its potentiality for lighting, encourages man to benefit from it and spectacularly lights up. So it lights up your power in space. The thunder announces the coming of rain, causing boundless space to speak. The thunder announces the coming of rain, causing boundless space to speak, and makes the heavens ring out with the reverberations of its glorifying. It hallows you verbally. It's interesting how each and every aspect is a, as you said, one of the tongue of disposition, calling to its Lord, the one who is employing it, who is sending it. So the electricity is actually glorifying the power of the one who has employed it. The thunder announces the coming of rain, but it also declares that the one who gives existence to the universe must speak as well. That, and it communicates with its own tongue of disposition in doing its glorification. So everything that we see in existence, the electricity, the lights that your computers, your cell phone, whatever you're lighting up, everything is speaking and declaring to, basically calling out the owner, the Lord of the universe, to his qualities, to his power, testifying to your dominicality. So yeah, so they're all witnessing and testifying to the ownership of the Lord of the universe. The winds, which are charged with numerous duties, like providing the sustenance most vital for animate creatures and the easiest to benefit from, and ensuring and facilitating respiration, for some purpose turn the atmosphere into a tablet for writing and erasing. Turn the atmosphere into a tablet for writing and erasing, thus pointing to the activity of your power and testifying to your existence. So now touching upon the winds, which also performs several duties, like providing the sustenance for most vital for animate creatures, the air we breathe, the oxygen, the dispersion of the seeds and wind energy, you name it. Everything is performing some different duties. We don't even recognize any of them. And it points to the activity of, that whoever is employing it knows what needs to be done, who needs to be taken care of, what needs to happen. So there's a knowledge aspect of the one the wind kind of points out to, and it also points to the activity of the power and testifying of his existence. I don't know how many of you have seen or look at the weather forecast or the reports, and they indicate what the high winds or low winds and sunny and rain and whatever the precipitation percentage, but never ever do they ever mention what kind of duties and what do they point to, what is their significance. So it's good for us to actually reflect on these things from these supplications, inshallah. Similarly, the mercy, milked through your compassion from the clouds and sent to living beings, testifies through the words of its balanced, orderly droplets to the breadth of your mercy and compassion. The mercy milked through your compassion from the clouds and sent to living beings testifies through the words of its balanced, orderly droplets. Orderly droplets, interesting. To the breadth of your mercy and compassion. Yeah, so it's not just randomly things are happening. They're drops of rain or snow. They're not chaos or random, but there is an order to them. And it's all a sign of the Lord of the universe, how his absoluteness and his mercy and compassion, knowledge. O potent and active disposer, O sublime and bountiful bestower, O potent and active disposer, O sublime and bountiful bestower. The clouds, lightning, thunder, wind, and rain each testify on their own to your necessary existence. So too as a whole, being one within the other and assisting each other in their duties. Although they are by nature dissimilar and opposed to each other, they indicate most powerfully your unity. Let me read that again. The clouds, lightning, thunder, wind, and rain each testify on their own to your necessary existence. I'm fine so far. So too as a whole, all together, they work as a whole, being one within the other and assisting each other in their duties. So the wind can help the rain can help the wind, lightning, clouds, all of them are working together and assisting each other in their duties, although they are by nature dissimilar and opposed to each other. They're all different creations, creatures by nature, with their own qualities, their own duties. They indicate most powerfully your unity. Wow. Although they may seem contradictory, but they're all complementary to each other, and they show that how the universe, all the atmosphere, is assigned to see the absolute unity that is being manifested in this world. They point to the magnificence of your dominicality, which makes the vast atmosphere into an exhibition of wonders, on some days filling and emptying it several times. On some days filling and emptying it several times. And the immensity and all-pervasiveness of your power, which makes it resemble a slate, which is written on and then rubbed clean. A slate which is written on, then rubbed clean. And wrings it out like a sponge, and waters the garden of the earth. And to your unbounded mercy and limitless rule, which under the veil of the atmosphere administer all the earth and all creatures. Moreover, the air is employed in duties so wise, and the clouds and rain utilized in benefits so percipient, that if it was not for a knowledge and wisdom that encompass all things, they could not be thus employed. MashaAllah, this author is employed also for us to benefit from the words that he's using. They are very poetic in a way, but very meaningful, how to look at really the qualities or the things that how they are not just normal things or beings that we take for granted, but they're, like the clouds as a sponge and garden of the earth, a clean slate. For example, I think spring is here now. So just like everything was wiped clean in winter time, now in spring, everything is just being filled up again. So all that points to the knowledge and wisdom that encompass all things. Otherwise, this is very interesting. They could not be thus employed. So they must have somebody who knows them. Otherwise, they wouldn't know anything by themselves, or how. There's no way. It's interesting aspect of how the employment of each and every being, how one can realize absolute unity. So all this activities in the universe is a sign for me to realize all the different qualities, knowledge, and wisdom of the absolute one. I think it's pretty straightforward, alhamdulillah. So if you guys want to share your thoughts, comments as well, it's mostly how we are engaging with the universe and reading it in a way that we are connecting it to the different qualities of the one who is employing them. It's a beautiful and unique way of living in the world, of whenever you eat a fruit and you engage with it and you're connecting yourself with that source of pleasure, of the bounty, the one who has employed the fruit for you, for your benefit, or when you're driving your car, who has employed the car for your benefit, shows his knowledge, wisdom, power, mercy, and all the things that changes in the seasons, night and day, all that is going on. High wind, low wind, high tide, low tide, whatever you name it. All of them are just employed by the one who is absolute, who must be absolute. Okay, so now continuing on. O you who acts as he wishes. O you who acts as he wishes. Through your activity in the atmosphere, your power, which continuously displays examples of the resurrection of the dead and great gathering, and transforms the summer into winter, and winter into summer, and similar acts, gives the sign that it will transform this world into the hereafter, and there display its everlasting acts. Through your activity in the atmosphere, your power, which continuously displays examples of the resurrection of the dead and great gathering, and transforms the summer into winter, and winter into summer, and similar acts, gives the sign that it will transform this world into the hereafter, and there display its everlasting acts. Hopefully one day man will grasp what the lesson is, what the signs are pointing to, inshallah. So the repetition, the continuous display that happens is an example of what the purpose of this universe is, and that there must be a world that this cannot be the end, the world that we are, whatever we are experiencing, but there must be something that should transform into the next world. And just as he says, that summer into winter, winter into summer, or every year you experience it. The day and night, every day we experience it. I mean, I can speak for myself, but never saw that as an example. I mean, sometimes maybe, but it would be good to see it more examples of that, the resurrection of the dead and great gathering or the hereafter, and the eternal aspect, everlasting acts, the need for my human need for that, and how this examples show me that as well. All right, continuing on. O all-powerful one of glory, the air, clouds, rain, and thunder, and lightning in the atmosphere are subjugated and employed in your dominions through your command and power and strength. The air, clouds, rain, and thunder, and lightning in the atmosphere are subjugated and employed in your dominions through your command and power and strength. These creatures, which by nature are so different to each other, sanctify their ruler and commander. These creatures, which by nature are so different to each other, sanctify their ruler and commander, who makes them submit instantaneously to his swift commands. Instantaneously. No hesitation. Immediate. They praise and extol his mercy. An all-powerful one of glory. All right, I'll go to the next one. If you have any comment, please go ahead. O glorious creator of the heavens and earth, glorious creator of the heavens and earth, through the instruction of the all-wise Qur'an and teaching of God's noble messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, I believe and know that just as the heavens testify to your necessary existence, I believe and know that just as the heavens testify to your necessary existence and unity through its stars and the atmosphere testifies through all it contains, so the earth testifies to your existence and unity through all its creatures and states. Indeed, there is no change on the earth, such as that of the trees and animals, changing their garb every year. But through its orderliness, it indicates your existence and unity. There is no animal, but through its sustenance being compassionately provided in relation to its need and weakness. There is no animal, but through its sustenance being compassionately provided in relation to its need and weakness, and it's being given all the members and faculties necessary to pursue its life. It testifies to your existence and unity. There is not a plant or animal created before our eyes in the spring that through its wondrous art, its subtle adornment, is being distinguished from all other creatures, and through its order and balance, it makes you known. There is not a plant or animal created before our eyes in the spring that through its wondrous art, its subtle adornment, is being distinguished from all other creatures, and through its order and balance, it makes you known. The marvels of your power, which fill the earth and are known as plants and animals, and their creation from seeds and grains and droplets of fluid, perfectly without error in adorned fashion, each with its distinguishing features, form a testimony more brilliant and powerful than the sun to the existence, unity, wisdom, and endless power of their all wise Maker. Also, there is no element such as air, water, light, fire, and earth, but through its performing functions consciously and perfectly despite its lack of consciousness and being the means for the arrival of various well ordered fruits from the treasury of the unseen, despite being simple, without order, and overrunning and spreading everywhere, it testifies to your existence and unity. So the thing that I'm noticing also is the methodology the author is using, La ilaha part, and then he concludes with the illallah. And he also starts that these reflections that he's sharing is through the instruction of the all-wise Qur'an and teaching of the God's noble messenger, peace and blessings be upon him. So there is the originality of, as we discussed last week about the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, how he, being unlettered, how he brought about the revolution in the minds of people who are also unlettered. And the example was the rifle maker. There was an initial rifle maker, and then that doesn't reduce the modern machine guns maker. And it spoke to the necessity of the originality, the one who would be the mentor, the teacher for us. So that's one thing I noticed. And the other, I think it's mostly like observation and just how straightforward to understand, I would say. So I'll continue on with this one, and then I think we can wrap it up for the day, hopefully. O omnipotent creator, O omniscient opener up of forms, O active creator. O omnipotent creator, O omniscient opener up of forms, O active creator. Just as together with all its inhabitants, the earth testifies to the necessary existence of its creator, so too, O single one of unity, O clement and kind one, O most bounteous provider, through the stamp on its face and the stamps on the faces of all its inhabitants, and their unity and being one within the other, and assisting each other, and through all the names and acts of dominicality that look to them being the same, through all the names and acts of dominicality that look to them being the same, it testifies with the utmost clarity to your unity and oneness. Indeed, it offers testimony to the number of its creatures. Similarly, through its being an army encampment, so the earth being an army encampment, an exhibition, a place of instruction, and through all the 400,000 different nations present in the divisions of its plants and animals, regularly being given all their necessary equipment, the earth points to the magnificence of your dominicality and to the fact that your power penetrates all things. Also, all the different sustenance of innumerable living beings, and is being given to them compassionately, generously, all the different sustenance of innumerable living beings, and is being given to them compassionately, generously, at exactly the right time, from simple dry earth. Simple dry earth, and the complete subjugation and obedience to the dominical commands of those innumerable individuals demonstrates that your mercy embraces all things and that your sovereignty encompasses them. Also, the dispatch of the caravans of creatures. Dispatch. They're all dispatched, everything in the universe. The caravans of creatures, which are in a state of constant change on the earth, which are in a state of constant change on the earth, and the alternations of life and death, and the administration and management of the plants and animals. And this being possible only through a knowledge that is concerned with all things and an infinite wisdom governing in all things, points to your comprehensive knowledge and wisdom. With all the infinite wisdom governing in all things, points to your comprehensive knowledge and wisdom. Also, the supreme importance given to man, who in a brief span performs infinite duties. The supreme importance given to man, which in a brief span performs infinite duties, has been equipped with abilities and faculties which suggest he is to live for all eternity. Man has been equipped with the abilities and faculties which suggest that he is to live for all eternity, and has disposal over all the beings of the earth. And his disposal over all the beings of the earth, and the infinite outlay made for him in this training ground of the world, this temporary military encampment of the earth. So this is made for him, this training ground of the world. This life is mostly can be seen as a training ground. This temporary military encampment of the earth, wherever you are, is a temporary encampment for us. We know we're not going to stay here forever. But what we need to do is perform the duties because we are given the abilities and faculties, recognize the absoluteness of the one who is taking care of me in my existence and everything else around me as well. So encampment of the earth, this transient exhibition, and the boundless manifestations of dominicality, innumerable divine addresses, and incalculable divine gifts, which look to him, surely cannot be contained in this fleeting, sorry, confused life. This transitory world so full of tribulation, since they could be only for another eternal life and an everlasting abode of bliss. They point to, even testify to, the bestowals of the hereafter in the everlasting realm. O Creator of all things, all the creatures of the earth are administered and subjugated in your dominions, in your earth, through your strength and power and will, and your knowledge and wisdom. The dominicality whose activity is observed on the face of the earth is so comprehensive and all-embracing, and its administration and management are so perfect and precise, and it is carried out with such sameness that it shows it is a dominicality, a disposal, which is a whole that cannot be broken into parts, a whole that cannot be broken into parts, and a universal that cannot be divided up. Together with all its inhabitants, the earth sanctifies and glorifies its Maker with innumerable tongues, far clearer than the spoken word. Together with all its inhabitants, the earth sanctifies and glorifies its Maker with innumerable tongues, far clearer than the spoken word. They praise and extol their glorious provider for his infinite bounties with the tongues of their beings. O most pure and holy one, hidden in the intensity of his manifestations and concealed in the magnificence of his grandeur. O most pure and holy one, hidden in the intensity of his manifestation and concealed in the magnificence of his grandeur. Most pure, holy one. Through all the sanctifications and glorifications of the earth, I sanctify you and declare you to be free of all fault, impotence, and partners. Through all the sanctifications and glorifications of the earth, I too sanctify you and declare you to be free of all fault, impotence, and partners. And through all its praise and extolling, I offer you praise and thanks. O sustainer of the land and the seas, sustainer of the land and the seas, I have understood from the teaching of the Qur'an and instruction of your most noble messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, that just as the skies, the atmosphere, and the earth testify to your unity and necessary existence, so do the seas, rivers, streams, and springs testify to them most clearly. Yes, there is no being in the seas which are like the strange boilers of the world producing steam. I like his use of the word strange again here. If you think about how the seas, springs, rivers, their existence, how, why they're here. They're all doing their duties. There is not a drop of them even, but through its well-ordered being, its benefits and state, all those seas, rivers, streams, and spring, makes known its creator. And of the strange creatures whose splendid sustenance is given them out of simple sand and water, and the living creatures of the seas with their well-ordered beings, especially of the fishes who populate the seas with one fish producing 1,000,000 eggs. There is not one but through its creation and its duties is being sustained and administered, nurtured and superintended. It indicates its creator and testifies to its power. Also of the precious decorated jewels in the seas, there is not one but through its attractive creation and beneficial qualities, it recognizes you and makes you known. Yes, just as they testify to you singly, so too, insofar as they are all mixed up together, bear the same stamp in their natures, are created with great ease, and are found in great numbers, they all together testify to your unity. Yes, just as they testify to you singly, so too, insofar as they are all mixed up together, bear the same stamp in their natures, are created with great ease, and are found in great numbers, they all together testify to your unity. Also through the seas which surround the globe with its land masses being held suspended without spilling over or dispersing or overrunning the land as the earth voyages through the sun. Mhm. The earth voyages through the sun and creating the multifarious, ornamented living creatures and jewels out of simple sand and water, and all their sustenance and other needs being supplied in general and complete fashion, and through their administration and through none of the inevitable innumerable corpses of their dead fellows being found on the surface of the seas, and through none of the inevitable innumerable corpses of their dead fellows being found on the surface of the seas. They testify indirectly to their number, to your existence, and its necessity. Also, just as they point clearly to the splendid sovereignty of your dominicality and to the magnificence of your power, which encompasses all things. So the seas point clearly to the splendid sovereignty of your dominicality and to the magnificence of your power, which encompasses all things. So do they indicate the limitless breadth of your mercy and rule, which govern all things, from the huge yet orderly stars beyond the skies to the tiny fishes at the bottom of the sea, which are nurtured in regular fashion. They point too to your knowledge and wisdom, which, as demonstrated by the order, benefits, instances of wisdom, and the balance and equilibrium of all things, encompass and comprehend them. Balance and equilibrium of all things encompass and comprehend them. There being such reservoirs of mercy for the travelers in this guest house of the world, and they're being utilized for man's journeying and for his ship, and his benefit shows that the one who bestows such a profusion of gifts out of the seas on his guests of one night in a wayside inn must surely have eternal seas of mercy at the seat of his everlasting rule, and those here are merely their small and transitory samples. Thus, the truly wondrous situation of the seas around the earth and the exceedingly orderly administration and nurturing of their creatures demonstrate self-evidently that it is only through your power, will, and administration that they are subjugated to your command in your dominions, and through the tongues of their beings they sanctify their Creator, declaring, God is most great. All right, I think we can stop here for now, and we'll continue, I think, next week. See how we can experience the universe once more, inshallah. And if anybody wants to say anything, make a comment, please go ahead. It's been a quiet crowd. I guess everybody's deeply engaging with how the qualities we are experiencing in the universe, along with the way the author has been presenting the different aspects of the universe, from the seas to the earth to the atmosphere, to the heavens, the stars, the planets, the sun, moon. All right, so I guess nobody wants to has any comment. Thank you, everyone. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. بحرمة سورة الفاتحة.